Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July the 25th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully, this Friday energy catches you well. Even if it's not on a Friday and you're listening, hopefully things feel Friday. My day was good. It's been a solid ass day. Nice way to close out the work week. We got up, we went to work. Now, I will say the problem would have been there was a lot of cardboard buggies to start my day, and it stayed pretty busy throughout the whole day. So that was a bit of I don't want to say bummer because I wasn't overwhelmed. No one really came and bothered me. So, we just kind of tanked it. We just, we got through and it was a solid day. No complaints in that regard. I will say I had to leave like a few minutes early. I didn't have to leave, but at one point, one person comes down from upstairs, and I was like, okay, all right, cool. Um, and then I want to say maybe 5 minutes after, another person comes down. So I'm like, wait, they're gonna have two people down here for the rest of the night. Oh, okay, I mean, we could have used this help earlier. Whatever. It's fine. I don't care. I got to have my day, and I'm looking at the clock, and I'm like, yeah, I know I probably shouldn't clock out early, but let me just get out of here. Let me just start my weekend. So, a few minutes out early, which is not bad. After that, we went to the gym. Gym was good. I'll say it. Gym was great. We did heavy lift day, and it's still a bit of a modify. I'm still tweaking. Like I mentioned this earlier in the week that I got the idea that we should just do the most we can with less. Just do less reps. I know we're already not doing a lot of reps, but I need to preserve my back if I want to keep doing this. If I want to keep squatting and deadlifting, at the rate I'm doing it, or the pace, what have you, then I have to, make some compromises. And more or less now just doing half sets, I think, of my heavy lifts, and we're seeing how that feels. Hopefully my back holds. That's I guess another thing that was kind of a bit of a problem. I would say my back pain literally came back at the top of the day, and I want to say by midday I was like, I'm gonna take some Advil and we're gonna see how I feel. And I started feeling a little bit better, and it didn't get worse. So I was like, all right, we're gonna run it. We're gonna do it. And luckily the lifts all went well. We squatted well, we deadlifted well. That was cool. Also, I think I'm gonna try at least for like the heavier. I mean, I probably should just do it in general now, but I tried for like the first time squatting on like the plates. So like I took like 210 plates, put them under my feet, and I did the squat to kind of help my form a little bit better, and or at least improve my form. And I think it was good. I think it was helpful. I'm gonna try to keep at that. I don't know if I'm just gonna do it for the heavy lifts, or maybe I should just try to implement that permanently. Probably permanently would be the good call, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted maybe. But yeah, I mean, heavy lifts went well. The rest of the workout went well. I had a really good day, so that's been nice. And here we are. We're yapping it up. So let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. I have no big plans for the weekend, but I'm still obviously very excited for it. The huge. Ooh. Oh, man. Our first story comes from Reuters. Soviet-era passenger plane crashes in Russia's Far East, killing all 48 on board. An Antonov AN-24 passenger plane carrying 48 people crashed in Russia's Far East on Thursday as it was preparing to land, killing everyone on board in an incident that spotlighted the continued use of old Soviet-era aircraft. The burning fuselage of the plane, which was made in 1976, was spotted by a search helicopter after it disappeared from radar screens. It had been attempting to land for a second time after failing to touch down on its first approach, the Far Eastern Transport Prosecutor's Office said in a statement. Operated by the privately owned Siberian regional airline Angara, it had been en route from the city of I'm fucking this up already. Blagoveshchinsk, near the Chinese border to Tinda, an important railway junction in the Amur region. It was carrying 42 passengers, including 5 children and 6 crew. It's also noted in the article at some point that one of the passengers was Chinese, and Xi Jinping did send condolences to Putin and that kind of thing. Let's see. Investigators said they had opened a criminal case into the suspected violation of air traffic and air transport rules, resulting in the death of more than 2 people through negligence. The plane had recently passed a technical safety inspection, Russian news agencies reported, and had been involved in four apparently minor incidents since 2018. I don't think you want to hear of any plane at that age having any kind of incident. I mean, we're talking about a thing that was built before the 80s. It had propellers on it, y'all. This is not a great situation to be flying in. Now, this is not every plane in Russia. I think there's over 1,000 of these. I think maybe in commission right now. But they are put more towards the outskirts of regions, places that are less populated and whatnot. So they're not flying on main routes, but still the fact that these planes are in the air is not great. These should not be up and running and operational. They should be decommissioned. But obviously because of the sanctions that have been put on Russia, they are really trying to make the most with meager means. This is one of those areas where it's really hard for them to actually do anything other than just repurpose the airplanes, the aircrafts that they have. So obviously very unfortunate that, so much death has come out of, an incident like this. It's a shame. Starting the story off with that, I really should have covered this the other day, but we got so bogged down with the news that I had to cover, and then, just talking about all the food and stuff. So I forgot to highlight this story and have it queued up. So that was my bad. As well as the next story we're about to, actually not the next story, but the one after. But our next story, though, is from CNN. Police search for suspect after shooting on University of New Mexico campus leaves 1 dead. Authorities are searching for a suspected gunman who remains at large after a Friday morning shooting at the University of New Mexico's student housing complex left 1 person dead and a second injured during orientation week. Could you imagine that? Your first day on campus, you're at orientation, you're like, wow, I'm either back at school or I'm here at school for the first time, wow. And then a shooting happens. God, that feels American. That feels American as fuck, no? I think they have a statistic in here. I know I'm just kind of already riffing. But at this point in the year, there have been 30 shootings in the U.S. School shootings specifically, obviously. But for some, maybe this is just me being a desensitized American. I was like, damn, that number is actually lower than I expected. But I mean, obviously, that's crazy that it's that high. But it is just par of the course, sadly. Earlier Friday, the university asked those on campus to shelter in place as they believe the armed suspect may have been on campus. The shelter-in-place order was later lifted. The university announced it on its website Friday afternoon. The university's Albuquerque Central campus remained closed out of abundance of caution, and people have been asked to avoid the area. Campus police began evacuating students Friday afternoon while processing the crime scene, according to the university's emergency alert system. State and local law enforcement are at the scene, and the area has been secured. University President Garnet Stokes sent a news release on Friday afternoon. Now, we do not know who the shooter is. They do remain at large. So, hopefully we come back soon with some updates. Maybe, a bit of closure in that regard there. But, I'll keep you posted. But moving on to another university, like I said, this is a story that I probably should have covered yesterday, just keeping in pace. I try to get a story out as I get it, but, sometimes you just get bogged down. From the Associated Press, Columbia University agrees to pay more than $220 million and deal with Trump to restore federal funding. Columbia University announced Wednesday it has reached a deal with the Trump administration to pay more than $220 million to the federal government to restore federal research money that was canceled in the name of combating anti-Semitism on campus. Under the agreement, the Ivy League school will pay $200 million, a $200 million settlement over 3 years, the university said. It will also pay $20 million to resolve alleged civil rights violations against Jewish employees that occurred following the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, the White House said. This agreement marks an important step forward after a period of sustained federal scrutiny and institutional uncertainty. Acting University President Claire Shipman said. I mean, this is them capitulating. This is them making a deal to get from under the yoke of the Trump administration for now. The school has been threatened with potential loss of billions of dollars in government support, including more than $400 million in grants canceled earlier this year. The administration pulled the funding because of what it described as the university's failure to squelch anti-Semitism on campus during the Israel-Hamas war. And we've talked about, Columbia University pretty extensively, as that was going on. I really don't want to get too in the weeds about that. But, I was disappointed in the University of Columbia, but for a different reason than the Trump administration. The fact that they had preemptively, as soon as they could, went to try to kibosh these demonstrations and said, hey, well, we're going to highlight, a couple of these instances and then just kind of label everyone, all of the people who are demonstrating as like wild, Hamas supporting, terrorist loving people. And we're going to break up everything that's going on here. We're going to get the police involved. We're going to do all this fucking shit. So they were already capitulating. They were already busting heads of their own students pretty much to try to quiet the scene on a fucking, political level, whatever the fuck. So I was already disappointed in Columbia here or then. I'm not surprised to see them move in this way now to just say, hey, we want to put the kibosh on this shit. We want to get the money flowing again. So we'll pay you this bit of money now. And, I think they're going to be paying it over, I don't know if I already said it or not. I think so many years. It gets everything going again for them, and I guess they're happy. And also, I hate, too, that you have, Linda McMahon pretty much saying that these reforms are the roadmap. This is the blueprint. And it's like, yeah, blueprint for what? The shakedown? Like, this is exactly what you guys are trying to do to any fucking college that you feel is too woke, doing too much DEI, whatever the fuck. Like, right now, you're using the reason of saying, hey, or the torch or the campaign of, like, we're against anti-Semitism. We got to fight that on campus. We got to stop all this violence. And essentially, you're breaking up any and all protests, any and all demonstrations, and holding the school at gunpoint while you do it, at least fiscally. Like I said, in Columbia, I was not surprised to see this happen. Harvard is still fighting the good fight, quote unquote. I believe the president has said, hey, he's not capitulating. They filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration. But behind the scenes, they are essentially negotiating already. So who knows? Who knows how long this bravado, this strong front is going to hold? Might just be a facade. But, in so many ways, the Trump administration is just getting dub after dub after dub. And I find myself, when I think about it maybe too long or too hard, I get back to that depressed state. Because you just see all of their little plans and machinations they have from that Project 2025 bullshit just coming together, just sliding together like puzzle piece to puzzle piece. You know what I mean? Like right now they're playing like a dynamite game of fucking Tetris is what it feels like. And everything just kind of falls and crashes into place. And it doesn't matter how fast or hard or whatever Trump wants to force these things through, they just fucking happen. Whether we're talking about this deal right here, whether we're talking about like the lamestream media, which is like, yeah, obviously fuck them. But at the same time, the fact that even they are kissing the ring, you got Paramount fucking saying, yeah, we'll do whatever the fuck you want as long as we get to get our big deal in and we get closer to doing the monopoly thing. That's what we want. We want to make more money for ourselves. So we're willing to compromise our values. You know what I mean? Or it's just a matter of the excuse of like, we just don't want to fight you like this. We don't want to get dragged into court and wind up having to pay you more money anyway, potentially. You know, especially when the number is potentially billions with a fucking B. So you settle for millions with this fucking guy. And it's like everyone is doing it. Like even down to the fucking terrorists. I know I'm just kind of in the Trump verse here, just kind of yapping. But like once again, you just find yourself like, it's like it just feels very Empire Strikes Back vibes. And it's just very upsetting, you know? And you wish you could just see something done that would change this from where we are. But it's just a lot of nothing. And then the guys you're supposed to root for, what? The Democrats, what are they doing? Chasing their tails? You know, trying to find a fucking head, you know, something to lead, something that actually has traction. Nothing from what I've heard is any good. Seems like it's worth any kind of merit. No real juice, no real policy. So, you know, that shit sucks. But, I mean, as always, we got each other, right? So, I try to always not end on sour, dour notes like that. But, you know, that's all you can do. Anyway, let's move on. We have another update from the Associated Press. Lori Vallow Daybell receives additional life sentences in Arizona, ending legal saga. So is this really the end? I don't know. I never know. I never want to like say, oh, I'm actually putting the nail in it, because then when I do, you know, I gotta fucking talk again about it. But that's okay. I like yapping about stories. Maybe the news is never over. Lori Vallow Daybell was sentenced to life in prison Friday on 2 murder conspiracy convictions in Arizona, making an end to a winding legal saga for the mother with doomsday religious beliefs who claim people in her life have been possessed by evil spirits. Vallow Daybell, already serving life sentences in Idaho and the killings of her 2 youngest children and a romantic rival. When's the last time you had a romantic rival, by the way? Was convicted at separate trials this spring in Phoenix of conspiring to murder, her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, and her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Brodew. We're going to say Brodew. Brodew? No, sorry. Vallow Daybell, who chose to represent herself, which is always a great move, always very smart, in both Arizona cases, even though she isn't a lawyer, used her final testimony to complain about the legal system and describe her belief that Jesus would free her from prison. Amen, honey. Fucking men. Fuck the system and Jesus got you. You had to do what you had to do, right? Like at the end of the day, you're just a religious warrior, right? You are like a Mormon Xena. But here you are, persecuted, prosecuted. Punish Daybell, if you will. Anyway, let's see. If I were accountable for these crimes, I would acknowledge and let you know how sorry I was, she said. Oh, that's good. It's good to know. Judge says Valley Daybell should never be released. I agree. Judge Justin Bariski said Vallow Daybell has shown blatant disregard for humanity, and he refuted her claim that she didn't get a fair trial in Arizona. You should never be released from prison, Bariski said before handing down the sentence. Eventually, the camera that you seek out, the media requests will lessen over time, and you will fade into obscurity. And boy, howdy, that's fucking true. Now, I mean, there's more details. They go through the whole thing pretty much, at least, you know, in quick bite. So feel free to read that if you would like to. We are going to forgo that. We've talked a bit about, you know, the Vallow, Daybell, Chad, you know, the whole thing. We talked about it a little bit, and I always like to reference Last Podcast on the Left. They do a dynamite job doing covers on this shit. Even really like put me onto a better perspective on how to view it as not just like a cult thing, but like a Mormon thing. And I do think that was an important part that I missed when I initially kind of came to the story. So yeah, I have one more thing that I wanted to close out on. Sadly, we are going to end on a sad note. But I did want to talk about a story that my mom put me onto. Shout out to Mama Newsy. In general, if you pitch me a story, I'm probably going to cover that. But especially if you are a newsie, by the way, you can literally just request a story for me to cover. Like that just comes with your thing. But once again, I would do that for non-newsies as well. If the story is juicy enough, I want to cover it most likely. But worst case, you can just talk to me about it for free. So, I mean, then, you know, hey, there's that. But really, this story did hit me, you know, just because, I mean, we're talking about the prison system. You know, we're talking about Black men, we're talking about St. Louis, you know, my birthplace. So, you know, I was really drawn to the story, so I wanted to, you know, get on it. stealing myself. Let's go ahead and do our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. Cover this story. Oh, it is so hot. I think I've had enough of summer. It's been fun. It's nice wearing your hoochie daddies, but I could wear pants again. A jacket would be nice. Some layers. Oh, I miss a hoodie. Anyway. Okay. We are recalibrated. You got 5 on your side. I believe it's NBC News, a subsidiary maybe. I might be wrong there if I'm getting my sourcing wrong. Mea culpa. So, all right. After a jail cell fight, he was put in a restraint chair. He was dead 90 minutes later. Whew. Actually, I'm going to read a little bit of the pre-op here. St. Louis police said Samuel Hayes Jr. was put in a restraint chair after getting into a fight with another detainee. He was found dead less than 2 hours later. There were new demands for answers surrounding the death of a detainee at the St. Louis City Justice Center just weeks before he was set to stand trial for murder. According to the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, 31-year-old Samuel Hayes Jr. was put in a restraint chair on Saturday night after getting into a fight with another detainee. Less than 2 hours later, he was found lifeless and strapped to the chair. So this is like a restraint chair, and I mean, maybe you're thinking just like a chair that you're bound to, almost like maybe like an electric chair of sorts. It's just a normal chair, and you're just stuck there. You're bound. This is the kind of chair that puts you in certain position where you cannot move, you cannot like really break free, like you're just not pliable. Like, we're not just talking uncomfortable. The setup for this kind of shit is medieval, in my opinion. There's no need for it. I understand that it's like, okay, well, we have a situation where we need to restrain the inmate and get them to calm down. But like, I remember watching this shit on like Locked Up, like Raw or whatever the fuck. And you just see these positions that these people are put into with this fucking chair, and they're left there. Now, according to the rules, which there is an investigation being launched, there's also a lawsuit being launched. That's what got me put on this story, was my mom sent me that video. But you're supposed to get checked on every 30 minutes. Like, that is protocol. Like, you're supposed to do it. It is illegal to not do that for the prison system. They did not check on him for about 90 fucking minutes. They just let him sit like that. They let him be in that position like that. Now, I'm sure people are already writing this story off because it's like, oh, we're talking about a person who's an alleged murderer, whatever. They got into a fight. They shouldn't be doing that. None of that fucking matters. None of that warrants you getting put on essentially the 2025 equivalent of a fucking rack. Like, that's not how this should be. And then you die on it? Like, and now what is there left for the family? That's why you hope that they get the bag in this lawsuit, because that's most likely going to be the only recompense they have. Maybe by the end of this investigation, you get maybe a sorry from the institution, from the prison system here. Or I saw the mayor in a video being like, yeah, I just woke up and I'm getting all this information, and we definitely want to get to the bottom of it. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But it's like, what solace is that? What condolence is that? You, like, for the family that you let their child die. You know what I mean? Like, what is that? How do you square that? Oopsie, sorry. This was completely avoidable. So, what's to be done? Like I said, I mean, we'll see how an investigation goes. We'll see how a lawsuit goes. I think that most likely is going to have the most traction in the end. Because most likely no one's going to face anything, even though clearly someone fucked up here. People fucked up here. But, yeah. I mean, it's sad. You know, whether you are outside of the prison system, you know, you have to worry about fucking, you know, obviously the law essentially just snatching your ass up one way or another for some fucking, you know, major minor events. What was it today? A little bit of side news here as we kind of close out. Gorilla, female rapper, she got arrested over a marijuana charge from her house in Georgia. Now she says that there was like a break-in in her house, so that was initially why, you know, the police were even there. And essentially, they haven't done anything about that, but they found all this weed in her house, and they're like, well, damn, we can get you for marijuana possession at a felony level, so that's what we're gonna do. So you're under arrest. So I love that. So one way or another, they're gonna try to get you into the system, and then what happens? Then they will leave you to rot in a fucking cell if you're fucking lucky. Put up too much of a fuss or a fight, you might get put in one of these restrained chairs, and you might just get neglected that way. You know, forgotten about it. Oopsie daisy. A piece of breakage, essentially. This is a whole human being we're talking about. So, you know, I mean, that's America. That is fucking America. But that is where we'll leave it. I know, not a happy note, but that is how the news goes, how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I do appreciate my mom for putting me onto the story. I will definitely keep you, you know, abreast of what comes next when I hear it. But yeah, if you'd like to help out, support the effort. End of the month is coming up. We're doing a Newsy roll call soon. So if you want to get on the line, get on the list, get on the queue, I got you. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsy today. You can also do shout outs, you know, if you got a loved one or a project of your own, whatever. It's like a cameo thing. I can do whatever you want on this podcast. It's free real estate. If you like, you know what I mean? I mean, we got some silent donors and they're just chilling. You know, they're like, don't even say my name. Don't even do that. I give you some money. I appreciate what you do. Thank you. I thank all of you guys so much for that. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action that helps out. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Whatever platform you're on, I'm probably on there too. And hit that like button, especially if we're talking YouTube. Hit that click, you know, that little thumbs up. Leave a cool comment. That's helpful for my algorithm. And sharing is caring. But obviously, you don't have to do all that. It's a bit forward. I understand. Maybe a bit out of your range. And that's fine. I really just appreciate anyone who is just listening. If you've made it to the end of that, that's crazy. That's cool. I like that. I like that you're that kind of listener that, you know, you're consuming the content from start to finish. Hell yeah. I'm with that. Relatable. No. Let's see. That's really all I got. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.